All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to come in and welcome everyone. Let's see who is here today. All right. So be sure to tell me where you're from. And if you're new, welcome. And if you're watching on the replay, hello and welcome to Live in the Music Room. Thank you for joining us. So, first question, can you hear me? And I see mobile music. Yes, it's so good to see everyone here. Even if you're watching the replay, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? I need a thumbs up letting me know that you can hear me, you can see me, and it's good to move forward. It's okay to move forward. So I'll give you a few seconds on that. And for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Miss Christine. And okay, Queens is in the house. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. I know it's cold today in New York. Yes. So everybody, I want to say thank you for joining me. I'm sorry that I'm delayed. I ran into all kind of trouble, audio tech issues, and like I said, I'm gonna keep trying. I'm not gonna give up until I master and figure out what I'm doing because this live streaming, it's not that challenging, but I have a lot of different components, and trying to put all these pieces and make a masterpiece has really been extremely challenging and testing all the patience that I don't have. But I'm determined to forge ahead should do, and I try to model after that. So I'm not going to be defeated. So I apologize for the delay, but that is the reason why we didn't get started on time. Okay, so since you hear me okay, I'm going to move along and talk about what we learned at last week, or actually what we're going to learn today. And we'll review a little bit of last week's lesson. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do today. All right, so today is lesson 3, and we're going to be talking about the bass clef. Last week we talked about the treble clef. This week we're going to talk about the bass clef. Bass clef, identifying the lines and spaces of the bass clef notes. And then we're going to name those notes. How do you get these names? Did we just come up with random letters? No, there is a method to it. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to, which is going right into point number 3, understanding how notes get their names. And of course, we have to play some fun music games. So we're going to test your knowledge on how well you know the lines and spaces of the bass clef. And of course, we're going to, we're going to send you with a resource so that you have something to further your knowledge once I explain to you how the bass clef and how we name the lines and spaces. So in our music store, there's where you'll find the resources for this week's homework. Chat, everyone. Tell me that you're ready to learn. Let's see it. Let's see it. Let me hear you say, I'm ready to learn. Every day we should be always eager and excited and ready to learn. All right. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds to put in. That's our key so that we know that we are ready. Okay, ready, ready, ready. All right. So without further ado, let's get into today's lesson. Today's lesson is all about the bass clef, lines and spaces. All right, ready to learn. 2 for 1. Thank you. Today's lesson is about the lines and spaces of the bass clef. If you joined me for the last lesson, you learned how to draw notes, how music follows the first 7 letters of the alphabet, as well as how to name notes on the treble clef staff. Now, we're going to do the same thing, but this time in bass clef. And don't worry, we're going to take it one step at a time. Before we name notes, let's quickly remember what a note is. A note is a simple shape we write in music, usually a small circle or loop. Now, it doesn't have to look perfect. The goal is to make it clear and easy to recognize. Now, a note by itself doesn't tell us very much. To make sense of music, notes need to be placed on a music staff like this. You'll recall from Lesson 1 that a musical staff consists of 5 lines, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5, and 4 spaces, space 1, space 2, space 3, space 4, and a clef. Today we're working with the bass clef, and we can place notes on each line and space of the staff. So let's practice drawing notes on the bass clef staff. We're going to start with line 1, then we're going to move to space 1, then we're going to move to line 2, then we're going to move to space 2, then we're going to move to line 3, then we're going to move to space 3, then we're going to move to line 4, then we're going to move to space 4, and we're going to end on line 5. Here is what notes look like on the bass clef staff. Now that we placed the notes on the bass clef staff, let's talk about their names. In music, we use the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then we go back to A because there is no H. Notes are named according to where they're placed on the staff. On the bass clef staff, the note on the bottom line is called G. And the next note, which is a space note, and space 1 that's correct, A. And the next note, which is a line note, on line 2 is correct, B. We're following the music alphabet. And the next note above that is a space note on space 2, and that note is C. Good. Let's keep going. The next note above that is a line note, and it's on line 3, and that note is good, D. D, excuse me. The next note above that is a space note, and it's on space 3, and that note is E. As we continue going up, the next note is a line note, and it's on line 4, and that note is F. Beautiful. And the next note above that is a space note, and it's on space 4, and that note is G. Good. And the next note above the G is a line note, and that's on line 5, and that is note A. Excellent. You might notice that the letter names follow the pattern of the musical alphabet. But what happens if we wanted to go in a descending order? The notes here are going in an ascending order, meaning they're going up. So the notes are getting higher. But what happens if we want the notes to go in a descending order, meaning they start to go down? What happens to the letter names? Well, they go in reverse. Let's do that together. I'm going to start by erasing our ascending notes. And I'll erase this arrow going down. And now we're going to go in a descending order. So the letter names are going to go in reverse. They're going to go backwards. We're going to start with line 5. And if you remember, that was note A. Good. And do you remember what the note was in space 4? Good. G. And do you remember the note on line 4? F. Good. And what about the space note on space 3? E. Good. Keep going. And what about this note on line 3? D. Good. And what about this note on space 2? C. Good. And what about this note on line 2? Good. B. And what about this note on space 1? A. And what about this note on line 1? Good. G. This is the descending order on the bass. Now you might be wondering, how do you know that the bottom line of the bass clef is note G? Well, let's figure that out together. Okay, so you already know that the first line, this note is note G. Okay, we talked about that, but how do you figure that out? How do you know? Well, remember in our lesson number 1. Lesson number 1, we were practicing drawing the bass clef, and I told you that the bass clef has 2 names, right? The bass clef is obviously called the bass clef, as well as the F clef. And the reason why it's called the F clef is, notice these 2 dots. I'll put a little arrow. They split the 4th line. And the 4th line is note F. And you know the musical alphabet already, so we're going to go in a descending order. We're going to start at note F, which is the 4th line. It gets its name because this is the F clef, and we're going to work our way all the way down to note G, the first line, and we will be able to figure out how to name the notes in the bass clef according to the name of the clef. So let's start with note F, and we come down, and this is a space note, and we know our musical alphabet. And what direction are we going? We're going in a descending order. So the notes, the letter names, the alphabet, the musical alphabet is now going to go backwards. So this would be note E, and then we have a line note here, and this is on the 3rd line. We know our musical alphabet, and this will be note D, and then we have a space note, and it's on the 2nd space, and that's correct, note C. Let's see if I may have to move my note G over. And then we have a line note on the 2nd line, and that note is good, note B. And then we have our space note on the 1st space, and this is note A. And then we come back to our note G. And this is how we know how to find the first note. We know that this is note G because we have the 4th line, which is note F, according to our clef, bass clef, also known as the F clef. So this is how we name our notes on the bass clef staff, and this is how you name them. So just remember that the bass clef has 2 names, the bass clef and the F clef, and that 4th line is note F. Now you might find it helpful to remember some sentences, such as, good boys do fine always, or good burritos don't fall apart. These are the line notes of the bass clef staff. And the space notes, all cows eat grass. So you might find these very helpful as you're learning the lines and spaces of the bass clef. So there you have it. In this lesson, you learned that notes are placed on a musical staff. We use the first 7 letters of the musical alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then we go right back to letter A because there is no letter H. We also learned today that on the bass clef staff, notes are named based on where they are placed, starting either from the bottom and moving upward, or starting from the top and going downward. They follow the musical alphabet. Let's do a quick review. So we know that the bottom note is note G, and we know the next note following the musical alphabet is note A, and the next note is note B, and the next note is note C, and the next note is note D, and the next note, good, is note E, and the next note, right, is note F, because our bass clef is also known as the F clef, and that's on the 4th line. And the next space note above the F line is note G, and the note above note G is note A. Excellent jobs. Now, if you feel confident with everything in this lesson, you can download the lesson booklet at our school store. There you'll find the lesson booklet and everything we discussed in today's lesson. And if you want a real challenge, you can download the workbook and quiz right there at our school store. So that's all for today, and I'll see you in the next lesson. All right, okay, so we learned all about the bass clef lines and spaces. And we got to have a little fun and make sure you followed along through our lesson today. So we're going to play a little game and make sure you understand fully what all the line notes and space notes of the bass clef really mean. So if I was to play, which I'm here on my keyboard, here is note A. We talked about that. We actually started here on G. You can see it on the staff, and then we went up because you now can see it on the keyboard to A, and then B, C, good, D, come on, E, F, G, and then we went to A, okay? So now are you ready to play our game? Let me hear you say ready. I know, I'm so silly. You can't sing it back to me, but you could put some music notes and say, ready. All right. So I'll give you a few seconds to get that together and let me know that we're ready to play our musical game. Okay. So let me put, are you ready? And I'll put a little music note and you can sing back to me. All right, let's see. All right, so I'm going to be asking you all the questions that you learned today. Line notes in the bass clef, space notes in the bass clef. All right, here we go. All right, so we'll do a quick test. I won't put the timer up yet, but I will. So we have a space note. This is a space note in the first space that we talked about. What would that note be? Okay, I'll give you a few seconds. This is just a practice. And then the next question, I'm going to put the timer on. So come on, what do you think? What do you think? Oh. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? All right. So I know there's a little bit of a delay, so you're probably getting your answers in. Let's see. I'm going to refresh my page. Okay. Yes, it was A. A was correct. Okay. First space is A. Now, here we go. Now we're getting ready to have some real fun here because I'm going to put the timer on. So question number 2, this is now on the third space. And what is your answer? What is your answer? Okay, put your answer in the chat. Okay, if it's too loud, you can let me know if the sound effects are too loud. All right, so we are down to 1 second, and what did everyone say? E. E is correct. All right. Okay, here we go. Next question. It's a line note. It's on the 5th line. Let's go. Here we go. 5th line, 5th line. 5th line. What do you think? Okay, so you should know already that the 4th line is line note F. So the space note would be G, and then what letter would come after G in our musical alphabet? We don't have note H. We have to go back to what? All right, A. A is the answer. Let's see if we're correct. Good job. All right, let's keep going. Question number, I think we're up to number 3. Okay, it's on that first space. We actually had this one. So let me put my timer back on. Here we go, 30 seconds on the clock. All right. Quick, 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 put your answers in. And if you're watching this on the replay, you can put your answers in, okay? We are having a little fun testing our bass clef lines and space notes. Good job, Mobile Music is so strong. Really coming in with those answers very quickly. Yes, thank you, 2 for 1. All right, the answer is, we have 2 more seconds. The answer is A. Good. All right, here we go. Next question. Second space, and go. And 2 for 1, you can tell me if you hear the backing track or the sound effect, I should say. Okay. All right, so let's see. I see a lot of answers here. So if you said note C, C is the correct answer. That's what we're looking for, note C. All right, here we go, and go. It's on the, oh, look at this. It's on that 4th line. This clef has 2 names. It's called the bass clef or the, and if you know the second name, then you know the 4th line of that note. All right, come on, 9 seconds, 8 seconds. All right. Bass clef. Okay, so you should remember from our lesson, we talked about the bass clef having 2 names. Do you remember what the second name was? The F clef. That is correct. It is the F clef. And so this is on the F line, the 4th line. So this note will be note F. All right, we're going to do a few more. Oh, we have another F note. So let me skip that one. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. It's on the 2nd line, and go. 2nd line. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, this is a beginner's class, so if you know your lines and spaces of the bass clef, well, you can just have fun and do a quick review. Okay, 2nd line, 2nd line. I wonder, oh, I don't have my clock on, sorry. All right, well, that's just about our time. All right, so I don't know if I see any answers coming through. I'll give you a few more seconds. And okay, I see a few answers coming in. All right, so it is on the 2nd line, B, B, B. And if you remember that sentence, what was it? Good burritos burritos, B, burritos. B starts with burritos. Don't fall apart. Count starting from the bottom note. This would be note B. Okay. Okay. What did I say? You said B. Okay. I don't know what happened to my boom card, but this is correct. So we're going to skip that one. Okay, we have to fix that one. All right, here we go. And one more time. Okay, this is now on the third line. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right, so now this is on the third line. This is on the third line. So what would the note be? The note would be note D. And you can look here where the two dots split the fourth line. We know that that's note F. And if we go backwards, we know the space note would be what? E. And then we come back down to note D. It's all kind of ways that you can learn to read the bass clef. So let's do. Now, I don't know, our game might need a little tweaking because the last one I put note B and it said it was incorrect. That is not right. The game has to be fixed. The second line in the bass clef is note B. B for burrito, B for boy, or just know it by reading it, as a mental memory. Here we go. So let's see if this is note D. Okay, the game is working correctly. All right, here we go. This is going to be our last one. And go, go, go. Oh, wait, this is the same question. Well, that's okay. Let's see if you were paying attention. Okay, quick, quick, quick. All right, okay. All right. So this is our last question, okay? Now let's see. The answers are coming in. B, that is correct. The second line is note B. First line is G. Second line note would be B, okay? Now if I click B and it says wrong, disregard it. That's an error with the game, and we will fix that. We're human because we've been dealing with a lot of tech issues, so pardon that. All right. Yes, it works. All right. Excellent job. So, if you found this rewarding, if you found that this was helpful for your music learning the bass clef, lines and spaces. Last week we learned the lines and spaces of the treble clef. So these two clefs are very common. There are other clefs, but we're just focusing on the treble clef and the bass clef. And you can visit our store. Let me put that up for you so that you can visit our school store so that you can get these resources that are free. Okay, our little school loves and believes in music education, and we want it accessible to everyone. If you're willing to learn, you can visit our store and download the workbook, the quiz, and the booklet, which outlines everything that we talked about in our lesson today. Of course, you're welcome to email us if you have questions, but the resources are all there. Okay, and what else? We're going to be live streaming hopefully next week if we don't run into any more tech issues. And we're going to try to keep this going as much as we can. We are human, so we may not be here every week, but this is our commitment to forging ahead with arts education. We're going to do a lot of wonderful things here at Live in the Music School, Live in the Music Show, with our music theory, singing lessons, piano lessons. We're going to have some guest artists come in and share what it's like to be a working artist. So I have a lot in store. I have a team working with me, and we're eager to push this forward because I think this is very important. Let me see if there's any more announcements. Oh, questions, questions, questions. Questions, please. Ask me some questions while we're here. We have some visitors I see, so welcome and thank you for joining us. If you're watching the replay, thank you. You can put your questions as well in the in the chat, not the chat, but in the at the bottom. You know what I mean. It's been a very long morning, but what we welcome any questions. So for the homework, mobile music, thank you. You will find the homework at our music store right here at store.contemporaryschoolofthearts.com, and that is where you can download the workbook. Okay, the workbook will go into a series of things like what is the second line of the bass clef, right? So let's just do that really quickly. So since our little game said no, it's not correct, but we know that it is correct, you'll get things like, what note is this? Oh, can you see it? Okay, there you go. And so you would know that this note is, what did we say? B. And then I might say, what note is this? And your job on the workbook would be to write note G, okay? Now, eventually, we're going to talk about notes that are below the staff, okay? I'm not going to go into it too much, but we're going to talk about ledger lines and notes above and below the staff, okay? So that's going to be coming up probably next week. And next week, we're going to be talking about ledger lines, notes that are above and below the staff. For example, give you like a sneak peek. Would you like a sneak peek? Okay, I'm gonna assume that you would like a sneak peek, and I know that there's a delay, but um, we're gonna talk about the ledger lines, and we're gonna start with the treble clef. Okay, so here's a little sneak peek. Let's see. All right. Hopefully you can see everything. Okay, so we're going to talk about the ledger lines and the treble clef. So we've already talked about, we know that this note was what? Do you remember? Okay, let's see if you can tell me. What note is this? Okay, I'll put it in the chat. My question is, what note is this? This is lesson number 2. So you can go back if you're watching on the replay and you have no idea what the first note and the first line in the treble clef is. Please watch lesson number 2. What note is this? It's the first line in the treble clef. Give you a few seconds. Good. Okay, that is note E. Okay, this is note E. Let me erase my question mark. This is note E. And I can show you here on the notation here, note E. Do you see that? Okay. Me. If I wanted to sing this and solfege, that is note E. But now let's go back to a sneak peek for next week. What would this note be? Okay. What would this note be? It's just under the first line in the treble clef. This is what we're going to talk about next week. Notes that fall below and above the treble clef staff. We're only going to focus on the treble clef staff, I believe. I'm still working out whether we're going to do both clefs or one clef. Since this is a beginner's class, we'll probably just focus on one clef, but you can put in the comments what you would like. And if you're watching the replay, please share. We welcome feedback, positive feedback right now, please. No, we welcome all feedback. Okay, so I like the way mobile music kind of worked through the musical alphabet, okay? So that is always going to save you. Your music alphabet, we know the music alphabet is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to A again. And so if we're going in a descending order, we're going down, right? Here's E. What would the next note be? That would be note D, okay? That's correct. Let's show you here. We were on E and we're descending. The notes are going to go down or lower, backwards. D, okay? So we're going to talk about this next week. And let's do one more sneak peek. What happens if I draw another line? Whoops, you can't see that. I'm drawing another line, so I'm extending the staff, which is a ledger line, and now I'm adding my note. What note would this be? Okay, give you a few seconds. Where's my little clock? Okay, come on. This is a sneak peek for our next lesson next week, Saturdays, 10:45 Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I have no idea. It looks like a lollipop with a line through it. That's sometimes what the children would say to me. But it has a name, and we know the musical alphabet, okay? We know that we're going in a downward, a descending order. Notes are getting lower. So what note would come next? This would be note C, okay? And it has a special name. It is middle C, okay? We'll talk about that as well. So we started on E, then we went down to D, and now we're here on C, okay? And we can go lower and lower and lower and then find ourselves going right into the bass clef staff. All right. And we already talked about the grand staff. So everything is connecting. There is a system. Everything works together. All right. Last call for questions. Questions. I am here, eager, excited to say hello, where I'm from, why I love what I do, and anything else. Happy to share what we've learned today. Today we talked about the bass clef staff. So I'm going to soon say my goodbyes, but I'll give you an opportunity to ask some more questions. If this is new, go download the resources. They're free. You can't beat free. Okay, you can't beat free. And have some fun. Challenge yourself. This is a new year. Learn something new if this is new. If this is something that you desire, you can get the workbook and the quiz and see how well you can answer the questions about the bass clef lines and spaces, as well as our treble clef lines and spaces, which was last week's lesson. Okay, so I don't see any questions as of right now coming through. I know there's a delay. I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I do humbly apologize for being late. I think that's a pet peeve. I don't really like being delayed, but I'm learning that this live stream thing, anything and everything can go wrong. It's live, you know, so we will forge ahead and learn together. But I want to personally say thank you for joining me. It's always exciting to share music with you, my love for music, I'm sure your love, and everything else that we can do to make this world a better place, especially as artists. So with all of that said and done, with all of that said and done, here we go. Let me try to get myself together. I want to say thank you, and I'll see you in the next live stream. All right? All right. Have a great day. Thank you. I'm going to put in the chat. Thanks for joining. And one last thing I forgot to mention, this is very important, that if you would like to book a lesson, please go to our school. We have a few slots open, and you can visit and have a free trial lesson as well. So we have that all available for all beginner students, and we welcome you, okay? I just want to make sure I put that in the chat here. All right, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next